Susan? Susan, ready? Good evening. Thank you all for being here. At this time, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the La Quinta City Council for Tuesday, November 4, 2014. May we please have the roll call, Susan?
Council members Evans.
Present.
Franklin.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Osborne.
Here.
Mayor Adolph.
Here. First item on the agenda, we would normally have a closed session. We have none this evening, so at this time I'll ask that you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your hand over your heart and repeat with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on an item which is on the agenda can do so at this, would you please fill out a request to speak form? It's a form like this. It's in the back of the room. At this time, anybody wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. I do have 4 requests, so when I call your name, if you'd come up to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, and try and keep it to 3 minutes, we would really appreciate it. First person is, I guess it's Lois Power, is it? Yes.
Good evening to you members of the City Council. I have never done this before, so excuse me if I make errors. My name is Lois Power. I live at 52060 Avenida Rubio in the La Quinta Cove. And I'm here for desperation, anger, and I want some resolutions to my problems of a barking dog in our neighborhood that has started in June of this year and is continually going on with no help from your code enforcement. In fact, I was treated very rudely by your supervisor, Anthony Moreno. And we've had policemen out. I can't even go out into my backyard and sit by my pool and read. My next door neighbor is here that has far more problems than I do. But I have never lived in a neighborhood that I've had this to have to deal with, and I've lived there 14 years. Brand new home. My job had brought me down here. And in the covenants of real estate law, you have the right to peace without disturbance. You have to have quiet and enjoyment in your home, and we don't have it. And if we can't get something resolved soon, then I am going to elect to go to the TV station and have them come out and observe. And I don't really want to do that because it looks bad on the behalf of the city. But we're limited on what we can do because we're not getting any help. The owners of the dog and the dog have more rights than we do. And I have a medical issue that has come up, and the stress is beyond belief. Because I have bone marrow cancer now, I'm going through blood transfusions every 2 to 3 weeks, and I have stress from this dog barking day and night, and he's ferocious. And so I'm asking for your help to see what could be done, either put some pressure on the code enforcement. I don't know what the answer is, but we're not getting any help. They have fined them one time, they have chosen not to pay the fine. The lady that lives there stands there with her arms like this in defiance when the next door neighbor goes to get into her side adjacent gate, because I witnessed it, and she is here to tell her story. But I think my 3 minutes are probably up. I appreciate you listening to me, and I hope that we can get some resolution on this.
Thank you, Lois, for this. This is not the first time that situations like you're going through that has happened in this community. And I'm going to turn this back to our code enforcement people and just have them bring back to us what the situation is and what we can legally do to control this issue, because that's not fair to you and it's not fair to the community, and it behooves the owner of the dog to take care of this problem. And if they can't take care of it, then under certain conditions we can write citations and it'll cost them.
Do
But
not pay.
we need to be able to do something to meet your requirements, because this is not right.
No, it isn't. And you'll hear from the other person I'm here with this evening, and she can follow up with it.
Right.
Thank you very much.
We have your name and address, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to you and advise you as to the direction that the city can go and what we can do to correct the situation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Monica Lagacy, is it?
Hello, my name is Monica Lagasse. I live at 52045 Avenida Alvarado, next door to the barking dog. It's just been an ongoing problem since June. We've filed a complaint with the code enforcement. The only alternative is, oh, you can call the police. You don't know how many times we have called the police on this dog. And it's not fair to them that they have to come out when they have other important situations going on, when code enforcement can't do their job. I have 3 daughters that I have 2 in middle school and 1 in high school. The dog is barking right next to their bedroom windows. They get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to school. Here we have this dog that barks till after 11 o'clock at night. I get up at 4 o'clock to be at work at 5, and this is what I have to listen to practically every night. And it's just been an ongoing issue. I mean, we've come to code enforcement, we have spoken with them, and they just tell us, oh, we're going to file a citation. We're going to give them a citation. But they don't pay the citation, so really, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just hoping for a resolution, because this has just gone way too far. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Monica, and but you heard what we told Lois.
Yes.
And our director is out there in the audience, and he's got the message, I'm sure, and that he will get back to us and let us know, and then get back to you people and say what we can do, and we'll step into the fray and start doing something about it.
Okay, I mean, I've written down times of this dog, and when it barks, when it doesn't bark, and it's just out of control. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Mark Johnson? How's our water?
Great. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Mark Johnson. I'm the Director of Engineering for the Coachella Valley Water District, 75515 Hoveley Lane East, Palm Desert, California. I have a little PowerPoint with my remarks, if we could bring that up. I'm pleased to come to you tonight to inform you that the relocation of the Coachella Canal, 1 mile of the Coachella Canal almost, is complete. And I heard through the grapevine today that the golf course is in service.
Open today.
Yes. The capacity of the Coachella Canal has been restored to its original capacity of 480 cubic feet per second. We now have better access to the canal to properly maintain it and get access to it. And 5 holes of the Silver Rock Golf Course have been improved. This project was 5 years in the making, with significant environmental, cultural, historical, and other obstacles in the way, never mind the actual design of the canal and the golf course improvements. Our contractor, Skanska Construction, started work on April 21st, and water flowed through the canal, the new portion of the canal, on August 10th. It's quite a feat to get that amount of work done in that short a time frame. This, considering the swallows and a 700-year storm that we had to deal with, all complete. The Colorado River supply that is transported by this canal is probably one of the most valuable assets the Coachella Valley has. Perhaps without it, there would be no golf course, there would be no dates, and perhaps the rooftops would be not as quite as large as there are today. A very, very important asset. So we all have to protect it, respect it, and cherish it. I want to thank everybody at the City of La Quinta. Oh, we got to go to the very beginning. And just a few slides to show what transpired over that very short time frame. Start at the very beginning. Some more. Can we go to the very beginning? There we go. This is what the canal looked like when we started the clearing and grubbing. Here's the excavation of the canal prism, where we placed the concrete. Here we're tying in the existing canal to the new canal. We had a 48-hour shutdown to make that happen. Here's the tie-in at the north end, completed. Here's the tie-in at the south end, completed. And water flowing on August the 10th. Here we are breaking up the concrete in the old canal and filling the canal back in with the dirt that we removed to build the new canal. And here it is just a few days ago in service. This is looking up the 15th hole. And here it is looking south along the 10th and 11th hole. And here's the new 15th tee looking north. So I want to say thank you to Frank and Edie and Tim and Willie and Randy and all of your staff for making this such a successful project. We appreciate all of your help. And best of luck to everybody tonight. And thanks for all you've done for the Coachella Valley Water District, and especially Terry. And congratulations on your many years of service to the city of La Quinta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. You didn't run into any rock outcrops or anything when you were digging?
Well, we had estimated a certain amount of rock to be encountered, but we did run into a little bit more than we figured.
Yeah. But you were on schedule in that, other than
yes.
the little rainstorm we had.
Yeah. The water was actually flowing through the canal before the rainstorm, and we were just about ready to build a concrete retaining wall to divert water coming off the mountain, but the storm came before that got constructed. But fortunately, the damage was minimal. So we're very, very fortunate. Yeah.
Good.
So thank you all.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
I have a question, Mark.
Sure.
Did the bighorn sheep interfere with your work at all?
No, they did not.
Oh, they
Yeah.
rather enjoyed it, huh?
Yeah, they did not. And then, of course, when we had the rain, they disappeared. So they
But I-
haven't,
yeah.
yeah. But we do have a very long fence there along the lower portion of the canal that's for that purpose. So,
Thank you.
yep,
Good.
thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Chelsea Panot? Excuse me if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
That's all right. My name's Chelsea Panshot. I'm the U.S. Sales and Tour Manager for Up With People from Denver, Colorado. Thank you so much for giving me a couple of minutes. I work for the nonprofit organization. It's a global education, service, and performing arts program, Up With People. and we've been around since 1965. We are going to be visiting the Desert Cities area in March from the 16th to the 23rd of 2015. And we're bringing our 100-member cast into town. They're from 20 different countries, and they'll be staying in the community for a week, living with local host families, so it's a great opportunity to share cultures, both from our cast perspective and also them getting to learn about La Quinta and the other cities in the community. They'll be doing about 1,000 hours of community service while they're here, and we've started working on putting together a few projects that may be possibilities, some leadership, cross-cultural communication and diversity workshops in the local schools, and possibly doing a bit more external community service projects. So we'd love to get your thoughts on ways that we may be able to benefit the La Quinta community. And then they'll be putting on 2 public performances that are accessible by the community. They can come and take part in that, and it's a 2-hour professionally produced show. We have music and dancing from Asia, Africa, Europe, Mexico, and the United States. Music from the 1960s up through today, and some Up With People original music. It's very positive, uplifting message, and the purpose is really to inspire audience members to get out, get involved, and give back to their own communities. And so we have a decent number of Up With People alumni who have traveled in our program in the past 50 years living in this area, and so we're very excited to be coming back for the first time in almost 20 years to the Southern California area, and look forward to meeting with you and talking a little bit more about the ways that we could get involved in La Quinta and support the community, and also how you'd like to participate with us. Community members will be able to come out and volunteer in the projects with us, and the hope is that we're sparking community members into action, meeting the needs that exist right here in their own backyard, and hopefully we can also raise a decent amount of money from the performances and donate all of those proceeds back to local nonprofit organizations here in the area. So we're looking forward to coming back. I have an information packet, and I've already been in touch with the cities of Indian Wells, Coachella, and Palm Desert, and have a couple of other meetings set up the rest of this week, and looking for more ways that we might be able to help out. So thank you so much for your time. If there's any questions, happy to answer those.
Any questions?
No, just welcome.
Yeah, if you had a chance to talk with our community services department at all?
Not yet, no.
That would be a good follow-up then.
Okay.
Edie's back in the green if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm sorry?
Edie is back in the green if you want to
Okay.
introduce yourself.
Perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? Just a question. Do you have any idea where you're going to hold these performances?
Yeah, we've been checking out venues since I've been in town. We've seen
The
several.
La Quinta
and
Resort Hotel would love to maybe put this on for you.
I have not seen that one yet, so maybe that'll be a stop tomorrow. Our sponsorship group will be making decisions probably in the next month or so on where they would like performances to be.
Yeah. Consider La Quinta.
Definitely will consider La Quinta. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chelsea. Mark Moran? Mark?
Better turn this off. Be just my luck to get a call. Hi, my name is Mark Moran. My address is P.O. Box 1305, La Quinta, California, 92247. The reason I'm here tonight, somebody made the comment that I haven't been here in a while, and I haven't. And it's because all of you have been doing such a fine job. But what I wanted to do is let Terry Henderson know that you are going to be sorely missed, that you have been an outstanding member of this council and outstanding member in the United States and in California regarding the League of California Cities. And that I've always appreciated your comments, your dialogue, your debates, and have always found you to be an incredibly helpful person. And so this council will probably miss you, and if they don't, I know I will. So I wanted to let all of you know that. But the reason I haven't been here is because you've all been doing a pretty good job. So thank you. For those who are running tonight, good luck. For those who aren't, just settle back and have a drink. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Anyone else wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to confirmation of agenda. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions by staff? There are none. By council members? No. Okay. Next item is an announcement, a presentation. We do have a Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Finance Reporting for fiscal year June 30th, 2013. This is an ongoing award that our city gets, our finance department. So at that, if council would like to come down on the floor with me, and that, let's award the finance department.
So you have to remember.
It's a red kind of day.
Bring them all up.
The whole gang.
It's great. What a staff. How many years is this? 14?
Louise?
A lot. 10, because this
Yes.
is Louise's last council.
Right.
So she's got a lot to do.
But we have won this award at least 10 years. I think it's more like 14. And that, so, the city of La Quinta is so proud of our finance department because they're the ones that keep us going in that, and make sure that we're not overspending too much. But we really appreciate it. And it says from the Finance Officers Association, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Finance Reporting, presented to the city of La Quinta, California. So there you are. And our very best, I think, there's the certificate to go along with it. And we're very proud of. Hey, you can say a few words,
If I could.
Did you get a picture of that? It looked just like the one you have when
Yeah.
right?
Get through it.
We're a big group.
Yes. Hey, that's great.
It was good. Change.
You can tell we're a friendly group.
Yes. Well, I would just like to say, I've only been with the city now going on 6 months. I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't. This is for a period of time before I was here. In this department, no matter who's been in charge, whatever changes we've had, they've kept the wheels on, kept it going, kept this tradition, which shows that we do more than the minimum standards. We really strive for transparency and providing you that financial information you need. And I also want to thank you and the council and Frank for your support. We appreciate that. But I'd really like to take a minute to acknowledge Louise West, our county manager.
Oh, come on up here.
A great deal of credit goes to Louise for being a consistent force and keeping us on track for us. So we're going to miss you a lot. Thank you.
Go Gators!
Thank you very much.
Well, you're not understanding. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Whoops, whoops. I wondered where this came from. Excuse me. I was paying attention. Okay. All right. Again, thank you to our finance department. We'll move on to the consent calendar.
Move consent calendar. Second.
Moved in second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to the next two items. Our business session, we have none this evening. Move on to our study session, reports and informational information.
Do we want
Linda?
to do those after
My
the,
meetings are next week, so I
Public
have
hearing?
nothing to report.
You want to go through those after the public hearing item?
This shouldn't...
I've got a few things.
Oh, you've got a few things, so, okay, well, let's postpone that until after the public hearing, but we can't do the public hearing till 5 o'clock.
All right.
So, or, excuse me, 6 o'clock, or no, 5 o'clock, is it?
Yeah, you were right.
5 o'clock, so that, we're fine, good. All right, we'll then move on to mayor and council member items. Anybody have anything? No? Okay.
Just a couple of things, I guess. Our Commissioner Phil Betancourt from Planning Commission last week, two weeks ago, mentioned that Karen Ross from the World Affairs Council was speaking at the speaker series. She's the Department Secretary for California for Food and Agriculture. We talked about water. She visited the Salton Sea, and we need more work in that area to have them exposed in Northern California about our Southern California issues. And then, I don't know if Terry, if you were going to report on this, but Brian Nastandi did hold a town hall here in Chambers last Wednesday night?
Yeah.
On the Salton Sea, and
Yeah.
that brought out some good discussion, residents with some good thoughts, and I think it just is another opportunity to bring awareness to our need in the valley to collectively raise the issue and start making something happen. So, wish there was a greater turnout. Hopefully, we'll be able to host another one, not too distant
Yeah, I'm
future.
sure.
But it was a good session. I'm proud that it was here in La Quinta. That's it.
Anybody else?
I just have one thing.
Oh, the air show.
I could do it under reports, but it's not really a report, but it's
Okay.
just about the air show was fabulous.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was almost, I think, the best ever. And now that we only have it here every other year, and have it one year and here the next, but for what they do to provide this incredible air show, free to the public, free parking, it was really spectacular.
It was a blast.
Yep.
Good turnout.
So I'm proud we're a part of that.
And just one last comment. If you missed the Italian festival the last couple of days, you missed a wonderful affair. It was great. I think everybody had a good time. There was a great turnout, and the food was excellent. Take advantage of it. And that. But, okay, if that's all, then we'll move on to our public hearings. And tonight, we're here to adopt resolutions approving the environmental assessment and purchase and sale agreement and introduce an ordinance approving the development agreement with Silver Rock Development Company, LLC, for the Silver Rock Resort Project. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A team of us will be making the presentation today. City Manager Frank Spevacek will kick it off. I'll follow up with a couple remarks. I'll then turn it over to John McMillan, City Economist, and then Les Johnson, our Community Development Director, will conclude the report. In addition, the developer is in attendance this evening. So with that said, turn it over to you, Frank.
Thank you. Mayors, members of the council, and members of the public. In preparing for this, it made me realize that 8 years ago this month, we sat here, and a majority of you sat here, to consider the similar documents and a disposition and development agreement with Lowell Enterprises. At that time, we were doing the introductory comments on that voluminous set of agreements. And then in December, we held a public hearing at which time the City Council unanimously approved those agreements. Much energy and effort were put into and dedicated to putting those things together. And basically, the prime focus was to ensure that we had a development that both was going to be successful, but also one that protected the city and the former redevelopment agency in the utmost way. However, the Great Recession intervened, and at that time, financing basically dried up, and Lowell was unable to achieve their side of the bargain pursuant to the schedule of performance. So later in 2010 or 11, we elected to terminate that agreement and move forward. We all learned a lot from that experience. We learned a lot about how dealing with the private sector as a public-private partnership can have challenges that are unforeseen when agreements are first reviewed and approved. But we took with that a lot of knowledge that you all have and we all have as a team, because a lot of us who worked on those agreements in 2006 and the subsequent implementation activities are still here today. And perhaps the greatest lesson we all learned from that experience and the 18 other public-private partnership agreements that we entered into over the past 20 years is that when we do so, what we come across is not a static condition, but a very dynamic condition. Certainly, we adopt the agreement at the time and we say, okay, this is it. We did a lot of effort, and tonight we'll talk about some of the effort that we went into to get here, but it's only the beginning and not the end. So, tonight there'll be a lot of focus on these agreements, as there should be, and these agreements set forth a framework that we're going to then move forward, if you deem it appropriate, and approve these, to then do a development. But again, this is only the first step. It may not seem like it because we've been at this since August of 2012, but this really is the first step. Why? Because if these agreements are approved, then we must move forward and design and have the various city agencies approve precise plans for each project component. The infrastructure, the open space, the community space, the buildings, and everything else that goes into it. And that's for 145 acres of the 525 acres. There's still going to be land left over that's not subject to this, that then will be subject to future considerations of what we do. In addition, per these agreements and otherwise, we're going to be dealing with reviewing and approving financing, both our own financing in the final expenditure of bond proceeds, as well as the private sector financing that's being brought to the table. Our prior transaction had us investing the $80 million that the former redevelopment agency invested to date, plus another $85 million on top of that, not including the cost of funds, which nearly doubles that cost, in order to sell properties to a developer to make things happen. In the post-redevelopment world, we don't have that luxury. In addition, we must design and approve measures to basically honor the city's commitment to those resident card holders who play golf at the existing Palmer course. There have been a lot of people that have said, well, why isn't it in this agreement? Well, that is under control of the city of La Quinta, not this development team. Yes, they want to be able to move forward and have golf for their hotel residents, as well as golf available to others, as they should be. Because in many ways, those non-resident golfers primarily support and provide the income that keeps the Arnold Palmer course open. So it behooves us to make sure that that happens, but we will be looking at striving a balance. So while we're here tonight looking at these agreements and asking for your consideration, because a lot of effort was put in by this team and that team to bring it to this point, keep in mind, and the community needs to keep in mind, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of a partnership, and this is the beginning of a partnership that, if all goes well and we don't hit another great recession as we did in 2008, that'll probably last a lifetime. So I just wanted to put this in context because there's been a lot of conversation out in the community and with me about, my gosh, this is like the final act, and this is only the first chapter in a long, long novel. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Chris.
Thank you. So in the last 18 months, when the developer was selected, we've been diligently working with them and their team. The culmination of all those negotiations have led us to this point this evening, with the most recent activities taking place in the most recent months. So in September, we had a study session on the development program. Last month in October, we went over the business terms. Last month, also in October, the Planning Commission reviewed the development agreement and recommended approval of the item. As Frank touched on, the guiding principles throughout these conversations have been to ensure long-term income generation, and John's going to go into that this evening, maintaining current levels of resident play, and creating new opportunities here in La Quinta. So I'm briefly recapping the major elements of the development program. Here's the site plan diagram, and what it includes is master site infrastructure, the development of 2 hotels, one luxury 5-star hotel and a lifestyle 4-star hotel, the development of a shared conference center for the 2 sites, a new golf course, branded resort residential, and a resort village, including retail components. So, and lastly, the renovation of Amundsen Ranch House. So with that said, I want to turn over to John to talk about some more of the elements.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, the business terms really break out into three primary terms when looking at this. We've got the land sale, and this land sale that I'm speaking of is the 145 acres that the developer requires to complete this project. It's roughly 10 project areas, composed of 10 project areas, and that land sale, because of the tax-exempt bonds that were utilized to purchase this property when it was originally purchased in 2002, restrict the private payment coming back to the city, and it limits us to selling those parcels for $1 a parcel. And that's one of the primary considerations when looking at this transaction, is that the land sale of that 145 acres is for $1 a parcel, and it would, regardless of the developer, it would be $1 a parcel. We are limited to do that. The second item in the business terms is the configuration of the reconfiguration of the Arnold Palmer Golf Course. This developer has, in looking at the property, determined that the best location for their hotel would be approximately what is now the 17th hole of the golf course, nestled in up against the mountains. There's 11 acres of this golf course that needs to be carved out so that hotel and spa, for the luxury hotel and spa, can be built there. That will result in up to 3 holes of the back 9 of the golf course being reconfigured to accommodate that. And that is something that the developer will be doing, and they'll be timing that so that the closing of the course, while that is done, is during the off-season. So that back 9 would have to potentially be shut down for a period of time during that off-season period. And finally, the last business term is the TOT rebate. And this is what it enables the developer to achieve their financing to construct and operate this type of a project. The TOT rebate is for the first, it's with respect to each hotel, and for the years 1 through 10 is up to 95% of the TOT that they generate is available to be rebated back to them to meet their 11% return requirements that are imposed by the lending environment for hotels. And that's for each hotel. And then years 11 through 15, we would be looking at up to 75% of the TOT that they generate being available to rebate back to the developer. That kind of concludes the primary business terms. And with that, and with all of the agreements, comes all of the safeguards that we have to build into these things to make sure that they actually perform, they actually get built, the city is insured during that process, and we get things back. The land on this particular transaction will be sold and developed in phases, so they can't get too far out ahead of themselves. They are required to show proof of financing, that they can finance each individual project component before they actually start construction of a component. So we're sure once we've seen it, they're not going to get halfway through and then they're going to stop. I mean, basically, the money will be there to keep it going on for that project component. We will have the ability to audit financials, and that will be both with respect to determining both if the financials that they need to do a particular project phase are in place and available, and also in the calculation of the annual TOT rebate. Additionally, the project must stay within a project timeline. We've put together a very detailed schedule of performance that outlines specific times and tasks that need to be completed within those time frames. That is all part of the agreement. And at the end of it all, the city reserves the right in the event that the developer defaults with this agreement to repurchase the properties back. Additionally, there's performance bonds, completion guarantees, and all the like that will be required throughout to guarantee the completion of this project. The next slide here just really outlines, it's a 7-year period, and it's outlining the schedule of the project moving forward. Starts with pre-development time frame. It shows the time frame, and it also shows the developer's investment into the project. And you can see that the luxury hotel is first and foremost on the list of items to be started and completed on this schedule. And it is a long period of time. It takes, this is the projected schedule that's showing a 7-year period until this thing is completed. And at that point in time, the developer will have invested $362 million, or $361.5 million into this project. And finally, we get to the city return. And this speaks to why this property was originally purchased in the first place, is to guarantee long-term income generation to the city. What you're seeing here is a graph of 17 years. In the first 2 years show some income coming into the city, and that income that you see coming into the city for the first 2 years, the area in blue, for those first 2 years is generated from the DIF fees that the developer pays to the city. After that, we start seeing other revenue generators come in, a small portion of property tax, a small percentage of TOT on resort residential product. There's also property tax, sales tax. Those items are trickling in all the while. And over the 17-year period, what you're really seeing here is an estimated $20.1 million of TOT rebate going back to the developer. But you're also seeing new revenues for the city, tax revenues that will come back to the city, estimated at $52.9 million. So there is that return. Additionally, we've figured that there's about 1,700 construction jobs that are going to be generated during the course of construction of this project. And there will be 600 full and part-time jobs, all calculated in full-time equivalents, to operate and maintain this facility once it's constructed. And with that, I'd like to turn the rest of the presentation to Les.
Your Honor, Council, Silver Rock Resort represents an amazing piece of property in the heart of our community. You all know that. It's 525 acres of primarily undeveloped property with a tremendous amount of potential. I want to take a moment to clarify the acreage represented in the two agreements. As was mentioned earlier, 145 acres of the 525 acres are included in the agreement. That includes project areas 2 through 9. It also includes a portion of project area 10A as well as a portion of project area 12. All of the other areas that are represented on the visual exhibit there are not a part of this agreement. So there's about greater than 200 acres of land that's undeveloped to date that's not a part of this agreement that's still yet to be determined. Tonight we're going to be conducting, or we've represented 2 public hearings. Let me first state that. There were 2 hearing notices that were sent out. One was posted and one was actually distributed per our standard land use distribution notification process. That was for the development agreement, and then the notification also was done for the economic development subsidy report. So tonight you'll be opening and conducting both public hearings simultaneously. So I want to make sure you understood that we had 2 notification processes that brought us here this evening. There's also 3 action steps following the closing of the public hearing for your consideration tonight. First is consideration of the environmental assessment. There is an addendum for your consideration this evening that is an addendum to 2 previous environmental determinations, the original environmental determination in 2002 and a subsequent addendum in 2006. After that, there will be consideration of the development agreement. And as was mentioned earlier, the Planning Commission did consider both the development agreement and the environmental assessment on October 14th, and they made a unanimous recommendation of approval for both items for you this evening. And then finally, there will be the consideration of the purchase, sale, and development agreement. So with that, that would conclude our staff report, and as a team, we're all here to answer any questions you might have.
Good. Thank you. Questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Lee?
Mr. Mayor. John, to go back to the TOT rebate
Yes.
regarding, and the revenue that you showed us in that graph, we talked about the rebate coming from strictly the hotel rooms only, approximately 340 rooms between the two. But there are substantial other units available to generate TOT. And we talked about a little bit about the resort residential. Can you give us a little more idea of what those other units that will be available to generate TOT that will not be included in that rebate program?
Yes. If we actually went back and looked at that graph, or if you roughly remember what was on that graph, over that 17-year period, which is really, I should say, we're only looking at 15 years, which is the term of the TOT rebate. The portion of TOT that is generated or is estimated to be generated by the residential units of the branded and the non-branded resort residential units is about $12.2 million.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any estimate on how many keys or how many units we'd be talking about that would be available?
Well, the resort, so with respect to the branded units, what they are looking at is the resort residential that's associated with the hotel, so the branded component. In the lifestyle, those units are able to be 2 keys per unit, so the hotel can lease those individual residential units out as 2 separate hotel rooms. And when they do that, anything that's generated from those TOT is not considered hotel TOT. That strictly will be the residential component of the TOT and is not subject to rebate.
So
in
those
addition,
60 residential units that can create 120 units
rooms
to generate TOT.
And then in addition to that, there's all of the other resort residential throughout the project that can generate resort or TOT for the city as well.
Excuse me, Lee, just to follow up on that. But these units can be privately owned?
Yes, they can.
Okay. And if the individuals that buy these move in, there will be no TOT available to the city because they move into them, they live there full-time.
Absolutely. If the units are not rented out, they will not generate
So if
TOT.
or a person buys it, but they're not going to rent it out.
Absolutely.
There's no income to the city other than property tax that is going to come into us. So there will be no TOT. So at this stage of the game, we really don't know.
We're looking at other projects that are similar to this to
Okay, it's a
generate those
guess.
numbers.
It's an estimate.
It is an estimate.
Sure.
Well, based on what your research is seeing in other projects, what have you seen in other projects of this type?
We have seen we start our kind of projection of how many units will actually participate in the program, and we started out at about 30%, which is consistent with other projects that we've seen here.
Okay.
So we see a range of 30%, and we'd hope to see it reach as high as 50% of the units that would be in these resort residential areas participating in rental programs.
But in your estimate on these fees and everything, as you've shown here, you're using maybe 30%?
We're using between 30 and 50 because we're starting out at the lower end and actually probably high 20%
Okay.
participating, and towards the end we're getting it up to there's a saturation in the mid 40% range.
So you've used a pretty conservative estimation in putting these numbers together throughout?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Kirsty, anything?
No, I have some comments, but I want to wait for the public.
Sure. Okay. Terry?
Yes, looking at this graph, there the city's participation, or if you will, revenue stream at 52 million, does that include the 12 million in anticipated TOT that will go to the city? That
Yes.
you and Les or Lee were just talking about?
Yes, it does.
So that's in there then.
Yes, it is.
Was there any consideration given to the other 50 to 70% of units that may not participate in the lease program or the rent program through the hotels to an in lieu fee?
That was considered, and this goes back to the tax-exempt bonds that were used to purchase this property. If the city were to impose an in lieu fee, it would count as a private payment, which goes against the private payment regulations that we have, and it would make those tax-exempt bonds taxable. And so we are not allowed to receive private payments back. And
That would be like the homeowners association fee?
Yes.
A lot of things we weren't allowed to do here.
Yeah.
A lot of things we weren't allowed to do.
That's for sure.
I'll have more later. Thank you.
Linda?
No questions, thank you.
And that, Frank made a comment in regards to the golf course, and that, and the fact that, you know, we're trying to provide golf for our citizens, because that was one of the focal things that we dealt with initially, but of course we dealt with the fact that we were looking at 2 golf courses. Now we're going to just maintain the 1 golf course, and making sure that our residents are able to get the tee times, and that's the key element, tee times. The common sense tells me, well, we have a little bit of a problem here, because a normal golf course, 18-hole golf course, uses somewhere between 300 and 400 members to be able to sustain it. You get over that, then people can't get the tee times, they get disenchanted in that. We have at Silver Rock over 6,000 resident members in that. Of course, you know, a lot of them are part-time, they come and go in that. But now we're going to add another 340 some odd rooms and that, and these guests are going to want them, and hopefully they fill up the hotel. I doubt that very much, but can you see maybe a little bit of a problem there for management trying to operate and satisfy the needs of our citizens who we built the course for them? Basically to bring in revenue. And I know that it does bring in revenue. We've been running in the black for about, what, 4 years or something like that. Just the operations, not some of the other problems that we've addressed in that. But that's where I'm concerned, and common sense tells me, you know, you can't cram too many people on these golf courses, or you're going to make a lot of people unhappy in that. And I know that Landmark has done a great job in operating the golf course, doing the job that we asked them to do in that, but I don't want to put any more burden on them, and I know they've got a few more years, but the one thing I know that is by the time this comes around, and that I'm not going to be up here anyway, so somebody else is going to have to take the hit on how do we handle this with our citizens. The second thing, let me ask, you never mentioned the clubhouse, and that wasn't in any of the graphs or things like that. And I know that the intent is that they're going to build a clubhouse, but then we are going to have to pay them back, but we pay them back through the revenues that come through the golf course, correct?
That is correct.
And that, what happens if what they need to help pay back doesn't meet the revenues that we get from the golf course? Where do we come up with the difference in the money?
That's a real good question, because we would have to figure out where to come up with that difference or how to extend those
I
payments.
always hope that we can do this, but let's say this worst case scenario, we don't. So we haven't addressed that yet. It's down the road, I know. We're talking several years down the road, but it's something that you need to be considered that if it comes about this way.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that was all. You have something now?
No, I do.
Okay.
So, some of the things that Don is talking about, for example, the clubhouse and our having to have a plan for reimbursing the developers for building that comes through an IRS regulation that we are tied to. And there's more than one in terms of developing Silver Rock. Doesn't matter if we do it today or 10 years from now. Well, it might matter because we might have the bonds paid off by then. But at any rate, because of the way this land was purchased with the tax exempt bonds, our hands are tied in many, many areas. So what you're hearing tonight and what you're looking at is probably for a lot of you a first look. But we have worked on this, staff and ourselves and our city attorney, city manager, over and over and over again. And when I would like for you, when you're thinking about this, to, although I'm not going to go into explaining the IRS regulations because they're too complicated, but to know that we have considered everything possible, I believe, and I'm very excited about this project moving forward. So there.
Good. Well, unless there's any other questions of staff, then what I'll do at this time is I'll open the public hearing, and it's a public hearing for the development agreement and for the purchase, sale, and development agreement is to be considered. And so the public hearing is open. I'll open it up first to the applicant, and that, John, you want to come on up?
Thank you very much, Mayor Adolph, members of the council, staff, Mr. Spevacek, and City Attorney John Gamlin, resident of La Quinta, and a partner in Silver Rock Development Company. It's sort of surreal for us after, this is about 2.5 years of work for us, and it's amazing that the day has come. It's been quite a journey. I think that I count at least 10 presentations that we've been through since July of 2012 through the current time, and I think every one of them we've advanced the concept and the vision for this project. I have a great deal of respect for your staff and this negotiation process over the last 18 months. I think from our perspective, they've done just yeoman's work in representing the city's interest in defending the city's position. I want to introduce quickly the members of our team that are here tonight. From Meriwether Companies, we have Graham Culp, who I think you know, a little less visible in the Boulder, Colorado office, but with us tonight is Noah Hahn. From the Robert Green Company, Robert has members of his team here. Robert, of course, Pat Russell, and Tyler Kent. Collectively, this is Silver Rock Development Company. I don't have any presentation tonight. I'm just going to make a couple of remarks. I think we've, and of course, we're happy to respond to any questions that come up with respect of the plan, as far as any contractual items, anything that comes up with the public that you'd like us to help respond to. We're happy to do that. It's been a very collaborative process with the staff. I think when we came forward with a concept in the fall of 2012, it was the beginning of a journey with you and your staff, and I think where we are today with our plan is greater than the sum of its parts. I think we have just an incredibly powerful vision and a concept for the property that takes what the original vision was in 2002 and advances that into the current thinking and current market. So in spite of the evolution of the plan and changes in the plan, I think that Mr. Escobedo referenced what he called guiding principles, and those guiding principles that we came forward to talk about, that we tried to embed in our plan in 2012, have not changed at all, and those are that's the city's mission for this property. We're very committed to that. So we're really pleased to bring forward what we've been calling the next logical evolution of destination resort in the Coachella Valley. We believe it's a multi-generational, forward-thinking, inclusive plan. It embraces the authenticity and the history of the city, and it's very demographically relevant. We think it'll be relevant for decades to come, and it'll evolve over time to adjust and adapt. Just to close, we, as Mr. Spevacek said, we have much to do over the next year. I look forward to really digging into the details. We have a lot of planning and engineering work to do. We'll be back before the city with each project component and details associated with it, and there will be a lot of opportunity for input. So with that, I'll close, and we respectfully request the City Council's approval for our agreements and the development agreement. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Questions of the applicant? I did listen to the tapes, the 2 tapes of your presentation to the Planning Commission, so I'm well aware of what you had to say.
I know that must have taken a while. I think
it was.
I was in a little bit of trouble. I think I get a little too passionate about the topic, and sometimes I'll go on too long. So
but you
I
are
appreciate
very
your patience.
Very comprehensive.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have a couple of people that wishes to speak. So again, if I call your name, please come up to the dais there, and if you'll keep it to 3 minutes, we'd appreciate it. Gregory Mangus.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'd like to say I'm glad to see you open this meeting with a pledge to the flag. That is under such assault nowadays that it's good to see a public meeting open that way. My name is Greg Mangus, 43227 Corte del Oro, La Quinta. I've been a La Quinta resident for 10 years, a Coachella Valley resident for 56 years. There's so much wrong with this, I really don't know where to begin. I made some notes. Number one, and I understand, according to IRS regulations, you have a problem with what you can do. But selling, and I've made an estimate, a $14.5 million piece of property for $1 is wrong, especially when I paid for it, especially when you paid for it. John here, citizen of La Quinta, paid for it. But he's getting all of his tax money back the swipe of a pen. Good for him. The rest of us out here, I don't think we're getting it back. Secondly, you wish to give them TOT rebate of $20 million. According to the paper, it could go up beyond that. This is a $350 million project. I think a $350 million project can absorb $20 million in taxes, especially when, according unfortunately, Mr. Mayor, the rebate demand will be implemented. The developer is demanding 11% interest on his investment. If he can't get it, the city has to give him the 11% bed tax. Does anybody in this, other than the developer, have a guarantee of an 11% return on their investment? I would love to have that on my retirement investment. Absolutely, okay? You had a graph up here showing what you expect your TOT to be over the years. There's nothing on there that says guaranteed, but yet the developer's asking for a guarantee, or his investor is. Plus, number three, and this is reading in the paper, it didn't come up in here, I understand you also want to increase the TOT tax. We'll leave that go. At the same time, there's a developer building a Hobby Lobby over here. We recently gave them $500,000 for landscaping. Ironically, there's a sales tax increase for the city of La Quinta. It's been put off, but you floated that idea. There's just too many things wrong here, too much money being given away, and there's no guarantee of it coming back. Yes, it probably will. We'll get some of it. But when the golf course was developed and started, all those numbers were projected, and obviously that hasn't come through. There's nothing said. And who's going to be on the hook for it if it doesn't work? Will their developers? Will their finance people? No, City of India, City of La Quinta. I don't think it should be done. One other thing, I think he just brought up over here, there was a privately owned unit. Apparently they could be sold to individuals that the developer comes up with. Built on land that we sold them for $1, and we don't get revenue out of it? Or is there something in the agreement where we would get return on that? Thank you. I hope it's considered.
Thanks, Greg. Robert Silk?
Good evening. Robert Silk, 79675 Rancho Santa Margarita in La Quinta, California. I, too, and my colleagues that I represent are not in favor of this plan. Any important plan not communicated persuasively is like having no plan at all. I feel that the population has not been persuaded. We have lots of questions, and that this group here has not done their job to win over the population. Maybe they have won the city manager over, and they've won the 3 guys over here over, but they have not won us over. So this is the new 15-year plan. Build it as you go, one cement block at a time, and if it doesn't pan out, how do we get the 145 acres back that we sold for $1? And where is the proof of funds statement for the $420 million? Has anyone seen it? What happens if gambling goes belly up and decides to sell to someone else who wants to build a racetrack or a Ferris wheel? And if I and my colleagues ever heard of making a deal with the devil, this is it. Nothing like giving the house away before the house is even designed, let alone built. So I urge caution in going further at this time until more due diligence has been performed. And if there is more to this plan, then it should be disclosed. But as of now, the only strategy is to form a plan to form a plan. So this is not a good deal as it stands today. We are the ones at risk here, not them. They have nothing to lose, and we have everything to lose. Would you like to have Sheldon Adelson, my friend, or Larry Ellison standing here giving you $500 million so he can make in 3 years a $2 billion profit? That would be very nice if he gave 15% back to us. But this is not a deal. It's not a good deal, and it's nonsense. My solution is round up the whole Merriweather team, put them on the back of Craig Carey's horses, ride them out of town to maybe the stage at Caesar's Palace, and we'd make 15% profit as the agent, more money than we were doing now, and we'd call it smoke and mirrors. Because if you don't understand it, you should leave it alone, and this is something that we do not understand. You're going to burden our next generation with a big problem, and I feel that this vote should be delayed for the new council. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Don Tannehill?
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Don Tannehill. My address is 10113 Lakeview Drive in Rancho Mirage. And however, my address is in Rancho Mirage, but I have officed here in La Quinta since 1984, first with Landmark Land Company, then with ProNet Land Source, and now with Capitus Land right across the street from Arnold Palmer's restaurant. I'm here to speak in support of this project. I think that the plan that's proposed on there and the quality of the plan that's proposed on there is commensurate with the integrity of that wonderful site that it is. I've been following this for 2 years, and I know you folks up there have been working on this for at least 2 years. And I'm always, I sell land for a living, and that's what I've done most of my life. And when I come to public hearings, it's always interesting how it's so tough a sell for the people who have to make the decision to answer to constituents that view as when they're when the community's participating in the deal as a handout. And that little graph that was showing up on there, the 15-year graph, I can tell you, the city of Palm Desert would love to have made that same deal 20 years ago on the Desert Willow site that they still have sitting bare there today. They'd have 5 years, they'd have had that thing paid off 5 years ago. And so I want to commend the city for having the courage to look at this as a partnership, because it is still very scary days out there for the people who have to do financing. There are no slam dunks, as beautiful as this site is. And another reason I'm in support of this is that I've had some successful dealings in the last 4 years with the Meriwether partners, who have done what they've said they're going to do and done business in Rancho Mirage with them. And so I'm in support of this and the team that's behind it.
Good. Thank you, Don. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing, and the matter now is before the council. Anybody want to start us off?
I'll be glad to.
Okay, Lee.
Thank you. We've been working on the development of Silver Rock, well, since 2002 when the property was originally purchased. I know in 2002 when this property was purchased for $2 a foot, there are quite a few people that said, oh my gosh, how could you pay that much? I think $2 a foot on that property was one of the best investments the city's ever made. And it's turned out to bring us to a new point where we are today. We have gone through so many challenges in regards to the Silver Rock, whether it was the economy and the challenges that we had, which was the worst recession since 1929.
Oh.
And we've gone through that. We've gone through the governor and his group of the Department of Finance, who have, well, we're in public, so I won't say everything, but who have taken $42 million from us.
You're on camera.
Stole.
Thank you. And, yeah, stole is a better word. And we have met with the Department of Finance and the numerous hurdles that they have placed before us. And we have gone through each and every one to come to this point where we are today. We have talked to numerous developers on this property, and we think that we have chosen the right developer that has been straight with us from day one, has worked with our staff from day one on an open set of books, showing everything that they want to do and everything that they need to do, and then negotiating with our team to make sure the city gets what it needs as well. You know, the question about what comes back to the citizens of La Quinta on this investment and the revenue that brings to this city, not just this 15-year term of the $50 million that was shown here, but this council needs to look beyond 15 years, going back 30 years into our future generations. We've got to have this level of income. This isn't a joke, Mr. Silk. This is serious stuff where right now the tax revenues generated in the city of La Quinta cannot just pay for our public service and our public safety. We've got to find other revenues to do so. We've looked at potentially a sales tax increase, and we'll bring that back. But if this is successful as we're planning it, we may not need a sales tax increase. We may not need to burden the people of La Quinta with something new from a tax standpoint if this is successful as it's shown here. This has been planned extremely conservative, as staff has talked about before. So the revenues that this will generate now and well into the future will protect the people of La Quinta and its future generations for many future taxes that may come about. There's many other communities in the state of California that have done this and done it very well, and this group has been participating in some of those throughout the state. The the clauses for the city of La Quinta to protect ourselves. As we all know, numerous things can come about. The economy can change again, and the developers may not be able to step up. And if that's the case, the city may be able to, will have to buy this property back. And we have numerous clauses in this contract that if they cannot perform according to this contract, the city will bring this property back. When we bring that back, that will include over $40 million of infrastructure improvements that they've made, and potentially much more than that within the developments of the hotels or the residential units. But I mean, just alone, the $40 million of infrastructure improvements that they're making, and not to mention the entire amount of $360 million that they're putting into this, is substantial. And so they are putting quite a bit of their own into this project. And we've got, again, numerous clauses that we can take this property back if need be. The contracts that we've got before us today have been available for public review in detail for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So everybody, whether it be in La Quinta or outside La Quinta, has had access to these contracts. So the public has had numerous opportunities to bring those contracts before us and ask us specific questions on these contracts. And we welcome those questions. Everything's wide open. And that's how we do it here in La Quinta. So we welcome these type of questions, and that's why we made these available to everybody. Everything we've done and will do on this is open to the public. And all the contracts that we've got before us today have been open to the public. And so I appreciate those that are in support, and I appreciate those that are not, and the concerns that they have, and the concerns that we will keep on this council to make sure they're handled going into the future, or that have been handled already. I mean, as this council, as staff brought us this report tonight, there weren't too many questions up here, because we've asked so many questions over the last year and a half on different parts of this whole agreement. And we have gone through this many, many times. Sure, there are some uncertainties. I don't know what life has that doesn't have uncertainties, but I think we have brought the right group to the table, and I think we put the clauses in the contracts to protect the people of La Quinta and the city of La Quinta as much as possible with something of this size. So I think I'm glad for the staff and the developer for the work that they've done. I'm glad for this council and all of the questions and hard work that we've done over 12 years of work on Silver Rock. And so I look forward to the vote later on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Terry, want to go?
Sure. I'm going to start with some of Frank's comments, because he actually looked to me like he came over here and looked at my notes. And of course he didn't. But we did start this process 12 years ago. And we were excited at that time, and we did meetings until 2 o'clock in the morning, and we had arguments, and we had disagreements, and we had all of the things that took place at that time. We had water issues, and finally we got to a point where that project was approved. The integrity of the project and the meaning of it, which is a financial commitment to the city of La Quinta, that's what it has to be. That's always what it has to be, and that's the project that's before us today. It has maintained the integrity of the purpose, and I'm pleased to see that, and I know that if all goes well, there will be a time when that revenue stream is exactly what we need at the exact and precise time that we need it. My experience with that first contract with the Lowe's back in 2002, or whenever we actually initiated the contract, that was kind of heartbreaking when the economy took a nosedive and that developer was not able to perform. And we chose at that time to cancel our agreement with them, and he lost $10 million. That wasn't fun. My position today is that that is still possible. We don't control, as we have all found, we don't control the economy. We don't control Sacramento. And we don't control Washington, D.C. Sacramento has a tendency to not have any kind of an understanding of how a city revenue source works. Now, I won't say that the governor is unaware of that, because he was the mayor of a city, and he used his redevelopment agency to the fullest ability that he could. And then when he became governor, he decided that there shouldn't be a redevelopment agency, and screw every other city in the state of California that had plans for their future. And that's what he did to us. And he did that with the naivety of the rest of the state legislators up there in the majority party that did not understand how a city operates. I have no confidence in Sacramento. I have no confidence in the next step that they may take. We already have another issue facing the city of La Quinta starting in January, and that actually will affect all charter cities. And that is a big, big issue that will be arising. So we can't control all of those. I have no problem with the developers that are sitting here. I have no problem with their integrity, with their ability, with their reputation. I feel that they are as good and probably better than most development teams that have been put together. So I have no problems there. I think we've put together the best deal that we can possibly do. And I laud the staff. I know how many times you went around, and know how many times you went around with me. And I understand that, and I thank all of you for having that patience. However, at the end of the day, I have very serious considerations, and it all has to do with the future economy and probably of the state of California. So, having said all of that, I'll stop there and thank everyone for all the time and the effort and the goodwill that was put into this project. And I'm pleased to say that the council maintained the purpose of the council's decision to buy that property to begin with. And that purpose is the city's financial future. And it would not and will not have a Ferris wheel on it or a racetrack on it. Those kinds of decisions have been guaranteed that they cannot happen in the future. So you know, Bob, you really ought to get serious when you want to talk to us, because sometimes the things you say are so ludicrous that. And as far as the development team not convincing you guys, how many what did you say, John? We had 12 study sessions on this?
At least, I don't know, 10 or 12 meetings.
Other than us coming to your house to have the study session, I'm not sure what you needed to do to get more information. You can watch it the next day on TV. So we've done our job. I have no fear of that. And I'm anxious to move on to. So thank you for my time.
Good. Linda?
I think I've been one of the loudest supporters of this from day one. I'll just echo what Lee summarized, which he encapsulated all of the key elements precisely. And as Frank mentioned, the reason why we're not spending a lot of time on the resident card component is because that's completely separate from this agreement. It's something the city owns. The city owns the rules. I have talked to several residents about that, and that's something we can revisit down the road. The 3-day advance tea times, the 5-day advance tea, whatever. That is a separate issue, and I'm willing to bring that back at some point. But I will just stand with Lee's summary and know that this is a very serious decision we're making, and yet a very exciting decision. And I am so proud of the work that's been done by the entire team all around of what we are bringing to the city of La Quinta. Thank you.
Christine?
I can remember when I first came on council and we were talking about Silver Rock and Terry had said, it's our financial future. It's our financial future. And those two words just really stuck with me. If we have build out and there's no more land left, which will happen in the future, we have to have some revenue to support services. And I'll just say once again, everyone has really worked hard on this. We're not taking this by any means lightly. We've discussed it and rediscussed it and torn it apart and built it back up again. So it's something that we need to do. We have a lot of confidence in our development team, and I'm excited about moving forward with it. So that's all I have to say.
First of all, I'd like to thank Bill and John. We had a nice, an hour and a half meeting, and they've answered a lot of my questions. As they know, I had a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about what was happening at Silver Rock and that, because Terry and I were the only ones that are up on this dais now that were part of making the decision to buy Silver Rock and that, and we had a vision about what Silver Rock was really going to be, and as Terry said, alluded to the fact that we were going to bring in the revenue, the needed revenue for the future, and that's what the focus was on. Golf too, but the revenue was the key thing, and it's so important to, I know, to me, that we follow through with what our original commitment was to the city when we spent $42 million to buy the property and that, and but it did happen, and we were so really happy that it had. The unfortunate thing is it's been how many years that we haven't been able to stick a shovel in the ground and do something about it and that, because the economy hit us and things like that, and we spent a lot of time working with the developer, putting something together that was acceptable to all of us in that. Am I happy about everything that is happening there? No. I'm not happy the fact that we don't get our full share of TOT, because that's the major source of revenue for the development. But I do understand the need and what's happening out there, and the fact that we're at least getting something back meets the criteria of bringing revenue into the city, and that, as much as I would rather have shared 50-50 as far as the TOT is concerned, but that was not going to happen. And I'm concerned that down the road other things can happen that that maybe is not to the city's best interest. The total development plan and what they have proposed, I think the resort hotel and the five-star hotel at first class, and I like what they have done with that, keeping it low profile and keeping it in tune to what we need. I guess my concern is we're adding another 340 some odd rooms to the mix that is in the city of La Quinta. Now, what happens to our existing hotels? The worst thing in the world, do we see a hotel put a lock on the front door and put a for sale sign? No, we had that once happen here, and it's not a good thing for the city. And I concern myself is because we're in deep competition with what Palm Springs is doing. You see what Saxony is looking about 1,200 acres with hotels and things like that. And even Palm Desert is now looking at TOT and that. So I just don't know how much is available to bring into our city the revenues that we're going to need to sustain ourselves in the future as things go up. We have to, our revenues have to go up with our expenses and that, otherwise we're going to have problems. I think in talking to Bill and to John and that, I think they've done everything that they can to protect the city during the development stage and the operating stage, and that I was concerned about that, but they've done a great job convincing me that, hey, that we're protected, that we know where we are in case anything that can happen that would affect the city of La Quinta. My concern is, of course, the city of La Quinta and what's going to happen in the future. And that I like the project. I think it's beneficial to the city, and I'm sure that the council agrees that that is something that we need to go forward. I just like I say, concerned about a few of the issues that are still out there, and I know that it's not going to affect me as the mayor or a council member, but I'm looking at what effect it's going to have on future councils and future staffs if we're not doing everything we possibly can to protect ourselves. Will we have a bind for them? And it's, like I say, we're talking the future 5, 10, 15 years down the road, and that. I keep my fingers crossed. I think we've done everything that this council can do with the developer to protect ourselves, and that, so I'm very happy that what staff has done and that. And like I say, all I can do is say, I wish for the best for the developer, and I wish the best for the city of La Quinta, that we are able to produce something that that the whole city can be very proud of. I live very close to it, so I'm looking forward to seeing something happen out there. And that the only thing that it was something that I wasn't too happy about was the canal. I hate to see the canal run right through the middle of this facility, because I think five-star hotel and you're driving over a canal that is not aesthetically pleasing is not really the right thing. It was too bad we couldn't have put it up Jefferson underground, and we wouldn't have that out there. And I think the golf course would have been happy about that too. And that. But all in all, you know, we need to move forward. I'm supportive of the project and that, and Meriwether, and I'm sure that with working with the city of La Quinta, that we will produce a project that we can all be proud of. With that,
Okay, you ready for a motion?
We have to close.
Unless anybody has anything more to say. Go ahead.
Close the public hearing.
Oh. No, we closed the
Did you
public
close it?
hearing.
Yeah,
I thought
all
I
right.
did. Okay.
Okay, I move adoption of Resolution 2014-059, a resolution of the City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, approving an addendum to mitigated negative declaration of environmental assessment number 2002-453. Parens SCH number 1999081020, and parens, and addendum number 2006-568 for Silver Rock Resort.
I second.
Moved and second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Yes.
Susan?
Well, Mr. Mayor, the next, I'd like to take up ordinance by title and number only for ordinance number 520, an ordinance that she'll read and for further reading.
Second.
Moved and second. Please vote. Oops. Vote again.
I'll clear it and we'll start over. How's that?
All right.
Okay, go.
Terry?
That's correct.
Oh, a motion passes 4-1 with Councilmember Henderson voting no.
No.
All right.
I'll read the ordinance into the record. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, approving a development agreement by and between the City of La Quinta and Silver Rock Development Company, LLC, relating to the vesting of certain development rights for the Silver Rock Resort and authorizing implementation actions related thereto. case number Development Agreement 2014-1001, applicant Silver Rock Development Company, LLC.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance at first reading.
Second.
Moved and second, please vote. Motion passes 4-1 with Councilwoman Henderson voting no. Okay?
We've got one more, right?
One more.
All right, adopt a resolution approving move approval to adopt a resolution approving the purchase, sale, and development agreement by and between the city and Silver Rock Development Company, LLC, with all the other stuff that goes with it. There's a lot of numbers.
Okay, moved and second, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, that's supposed to be a no.
Of
course, yeah.
You want to revote?
We'll revote
then?
Yeah, please. Okay. Motion passes
Thank you.
4-1 with Councilwoman Henderson voting no.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the public hearing. Thank you all for being here. Hopefully it was... Okay, let's move back to department, reports and informational items.
Nice to meet you, too.
If you want to wait a minute until the crowd leaves.
Gentlemen, get to work. Motion to adjourn?
No. Hey, you got an hour and a half before they come out with any information.
I'm starving.
Yeah,
Yeah, more hungry than anything.
Good job, everyone.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, sir.
Andy? Okay, it's quiet down. Linda, go ahead.
Yeah, I have no meetings until next week, so I have nothing to report.
Okay.
I already reported on that.
Everything's coming next week, huh? Okay. Terry?
Well, I actually do have a couple. I had transportation yesterday morning and followed with a subcommittee meeting for the rail committee. And having just recently seen that there was some discussion, apparently, I think you were involved with somebody, I don't even know where I saw it, whether it was in the paper or some.
For what?
Have to do with tourism and the rail.
It hasn't come up with CVB in a...
No, maybe that was it in Vision or Thrive?
The Thrive?
Thrive? I think it was in Thrive, because I read it, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
But it's out there anyway.
Yeah, and it actually came up after our meeting yesterday, and I just wanted to emphasize that there is ongoing discussions regarding the rail system, and we did approve they, who and what. It's a collaborative effort between the CVAG Transportation Committee and RCTC, which will eventually move through the channels at
Yeah.
CVAG.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue those studies. There's going to be a challenge over where the station will be. Palm Springs, of course, wants
Indio.
to enhance
Or
theirs.
Coachella.
Indio wants to enhance theirs. Banning thinks they'd like to have one. And then there's an obvious kind of push for one in Cabazon. Of course, by the time we get done, the train's going to be stopping so far that we might as well just take our car and drive there anyway. So, and there's no guarantee that we're ever going to get really enough money to do more than one, with maybe some cleanup on one of the other stations that are out there. But it's going to be a long process. But we've got interest in it, and we've got some money that we're working with, and see where it goes from there. But I would recommend that whoever takes over this committee for next year be aware that there was a discussion on environmental documents on the 5 sites And I cautioned putting out too much money for environmental documents on 5 sites when we know we're not going to have 5 sites. So the beginning process is going to try to weed that down to...
Get the sites first.
Yeah, try to get the sites first. So there's things there that whoever takes this committee on should be aware of. And otherwise, we approved the necessary amendments for the Jefferson Street on and off ramp.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's going to be starting, and it'll be done about the same time Silver Rock will be done, 2018. And I'm just hoping that I'm around to, take the off ramp and come up and go over to Silver Rock.
We do too.
Yeah. That's turning out to be a $71 million on and off ramp.
It has gone up
And
substantially.
it is, well, it really hasn't. It's always been talked about as being an $80 million on it intersection because it's so huge over there. And it's actually down now to 71 million, but it is also the largest undertaking that.
Well, they talked in terms when at the executive board of about 50 million.
Well, that was the last amendment. Now, but it's also good news to know that the funds are there and they've been accumulated.
That's the key,
So-
that the funds are available.
Yeah, and so they knew why they were putting those funds away, and it all worked out fine, and that's all I really have, so.
Good.
Thank you.
Lee?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. A quick one on the homelessness committee. We did have a meeting, and one of the bright spots on that meeting was that the homelessness committee will be looking at other homeless issues outside of Roy's.
Oh, you finally
So,
convinced them, huh? Good job.
it was good in that regard. Darla was there from CV Rescue Mission,
Yeah.
and she, again, thanked La Quinta for ours. However, there were no comments from any other members regarding our contribution to CV Rescue Mission.
Well,
But-
that's because it's not what everybody else
Yeah,
did, and
yeah.
we didn't
Nonetheless,
follow.
it's
Fitting.
good
Yeah.
that they'll be looking outside of Roy's.
Yeah.
What I did need to take a minute on is
puppets.
regarding Imperial Irrigation District. You guys might have seen in the paper this morning, they are looking at an 8% increase,
Increase.
8.4% increase in the rates. And the rates, it reminded me so much of our landscaping and lighting district and our other permitted issues, because the rates were originally were last set in 1994, and then were reduced in 1998, and haven't been touched since.
Yeah, 20 years.
So in the last 6 years, they have lost over $123 million, and this year it will probably reach $130 million that they've lost, that they've been using reserves to pay. And what's interesting is they're also going to be going to the bank in 2015 to borrow $111 million for capital projects. So they're having to go to the bank to borrow money for what they lost in the last 6 years because they could not step up and raise the rates according to the actual cost. Now, what I wanted to also say that the cost, they had a special study done on the cost of service from residential to general to municipal, agricultural, the whole realm. And overall, the cost of service is still twice as much as they're looking to make the increase. So they are still underfunded in regards to the cost of service. And they know it. Now, whether the board actually has the will to raise the rates according to needed is yet to be seen, because there's still quite a bit of concern about what that's going to do to the low income. Keep in mind, in regarding to low income, they already give away $6 million a year in free electricity for the low income.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, and plus they have another $13 million in other public benefits.
Isn't that a sub fee that we pay
That's
for the low income?
Right, yeah, right, we do.
We do.
Right.
Non-low
Yeah.
income or subsidizing
Is that on
that.
our bill?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, what's the other
Well,
one
it's
that's so
included in this new
expensive?
rate, and there's also the ECA for the cost of energy,
That's it.
the cost to purchase the energy.
The
Now,
cost to
they
purchase energy is high.
They changed the formula, though, going into the future to the extent that that cost of energy, that ECA rate, will go up or down according to the cost.
But it hasn't done that.
But they're going to change that, so it will going into the future. So it's going to be more tied to the actual cost going up or down as they go. But it is just really concerning that they have lost over $123 million, probably going to hit $130 million when they're done with this year. And we hope they're going to raise the rate, a portion of it. Throughout the state of California, the Imperial Irrigation District rates are only at the level of Pasadena. Everything else is substantially higher. But Pasadena has already passed where their rates are going to go up 21% over the next 3 years.
Wow.
So they're realizing what's going on as well. But whether the board with IID has the will to face that, I don't know.
You don't think Sacramento had anything to do with it?
I knew that was
375
You're blaming it on
and
Sacramento.
32?
Well, the thing too is with the renewable energy issues and the 33 or 30% requirement and the cost to do so has raised everybody's rates.
Sure, everybody knew that.
And so, and then some folks in Sacramento are looking to increase that even more. But that is just, I don't know, it's scary to think that IID may or may not raise this rate, which is still only half of what really needs to be raised. Now, they did their 5-year budget for capital and other operations, and, you know, they're looking at maybe an 11% in the near future after this. And then the future years, one rate's 0, one goes up 4%, one goes up 5%. I feel sorry for you guys having an accountant on this council.
No, it's an asset.
But anyway.
That's why I gave it to you.
Yeah.
What happens to these marginal houses, the people that are just barely making it, and they get those kind of rate increases?
Then they will.
The summertime, you know, your rates go
it's gonna
straight
be
up
tough.
in the air.
And they'll go back to this public benefit fund and ask for relief. And like I said, you know, $6 million is given away each year for electricity. So they'll have to use that. But it's interesting to see how they have done in such a bigger manner than we have regarding our landscape and lighting, how they did not have the will to increase the rates according to the cost of production. Given their cost is much lower than any place else in the state of California, they still have that challenge. But again, understanding the economy in Imperial Valley is still, average unemployment, I believe, is 20%, you know, 15 to 20% unemployment rate down in Imperial Valley. So it's just devastating.
But not in La Quinta.
But no, not in La Quinta, 4.5. But I just want to say, we'll see what the board does. The ECAC recommended this increase last night. A couple of folks from El Centro voted no. So it's going to the board, but hopefully they'll see the numbers and realize they really don't have a choice. They have to do it. If they don't do it, then they can't afford the infrastructure and they can't afford the capital projects that are needed. There was one big capital project for a line here in Coachella Valley, and it was about another $6 million, and a few in El Centro voted no for that too. We had a budget for the next 5 years, and a few folks in El Centro, the same two, voted no on the budget, capital budget, which I don't understand why you're going to vote no on a capital budget. If you need the improvements, you need the improvements, unless you don't trust staff and what they're recommending. You know, I don't understand that part of it, but you know, it's still not funding everything it needs to, so it's going to have to increase some more. So don't be surprised if the board does it this year, they're going to have to come back and do another 5 to 10% the following year, and maybe another 5 to 10% after that. So we're looking to have our power increase costs steadily, I'm seeing, over the next 5 years before they can really catch up to where they need to be. So
And gas is going up 30 cents in January because of the greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's still better than their competition.
Yeah, and that's true. At the end of the day, we're still much lower than anybody else in the state of California. Much lower. You know, we're about, what I looked at, San Diego is about 80% higher. Southern Cal Edison is about 60% higher. So we're still substantially lower. But I just wanted to go over the IID and the power increases, and we'll see what the board does.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I just had the one meeting with Sunline, and the only thing that we were doing that is worth anything is looking at how we're going to advertise on our buses. the different sizes and how much they're going to have to pay for it and that. And it's going to be a fun thing to look at down the road, who's ever going to be on it. Okay, and that's it. How about the department reports, City Manager?
We have nothing further to report. We are rolling out the department report on the CVAG model ordinance for DUIs and kind of seeing where people sit so we can figure out where to go.
Yeah, and the other issue also, from Les on the CUP and...
Oh, I'm leaving that to last.
Oh, okay. I fully support the effort here. I think it makes sense.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the model ordinance, I don't...
It was another one years ago that it's an opportunity to revisit. Right?
Well, I mean, this came from the Public Safety Committee, which I'm on, and there was a subcommittee, which I wasn't on. I refused to be on. And it probably takes a little more time than we might want to spend right now on the issue, talking about it. So
I think they have a plan. You have a plan?
yeah, they have a plan.
I'm sure they have a
Okay,
plan.
let's wait for that plan. Ted? It's Ted's turn, his plan.
Okay.
Frank, just a quick one. I noticed that Palm Springs is initiating the plastic bag program, and that, I think it's...
Yeah, Ted says.
And I know we talked about it just briefly in that, and we were going to follow whatever the state is going to be doing, and that won't come until, I think, January or something like that. So basically, our position, I was asked that question, I was in the market, I was asked the question, are we doing anything? And I says, not at the present time.
That's correct. Our direction, given the direction from the council, is that we're going to just follow the state lead and see where that takes us.
Yeah.
Good.
Down the road, okay, yeah, and I think we should all make sure that when people ask the question,
Yes.
yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay, good. All right, City Attorney?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Susan, anything on that? Any department heads, any comments on that? Okay. Well, that concludes the
We're out of here.
agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second, please vote.
That's the one I'm used to.
Motion passes unanimous. Okay.
I'm freezing again. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, as of last Thursday.
Oh, you got back behind the wheel?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good for you.
I put about 500.